Help support Friendo Club by going to patreon.com/Steven Larson or clicking join at youtube.com/Steven Larson. Access to bonus episodes, question threads for the Going In Raw podcast, and entry to our monthly wrestling predictions challenges. Join the Friendo Club today. Do you want to throw me a hot take this time for the intro?
Try my best. Sid was the best big man wrestler ever.
We all know you love Sid, man.
It's not this. This is tepid. I'm the king of tepid takes, apparently.
All right, let's do some wrestling takes from the Friendos.
Yeah.
This one's from Andrew Sharp, and I'm going to give Andrew a twofer here because one of his takes I wanted to use last week, and then I just forgot because I'm old. He says this. I love Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
It's not a hot take. Here's his hot take is this.
That should be the popular consensus.
But him being top champion during the current state of AEW, with ticket sales and ratings being as they are, makes it feel more like TNA than ever. That's his hot take. I ended that clause like there was more to it.
Well, I would point out that whenever he has a segment, it's usually the highest rated segment of that show. Mm-hmm. So I understand the feeling that when a company is not exactly hitting on all cylinders and kind of not selling tickets as they should, the natural assumption is to compare them to TNA towards the tail end of their touring days. I get it.
Okay, so my counter to this would be, it's not Joe that makes it feel like TNA. It's the crowd that makes it feel like TNA.
Or lack of a crowd.
Or lack of a crowd. I'll be honest with you. I don't know exactly like what era TNA people are really referring to. I'm assuming when Joe was there is what they're referring to.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, though. I feel like so much of the complaints about TNA had to do with really weird sort of booking that's shock value for shock value. And I don't think AEW does that.
No. If anything, they go too far to the other extreme.
Yeah.
Let's ride the course, regardless if it leads anywhere.
Yeah. A lot of it seems like a lot of their matches are sort of like just foregone conclusion matches.
See any Chris Jericho feud, you know?
Yeah, pretty much.
If anything, AEW is lacking in shocking, surprising moments on TV.
Yeah, right.
Usually they reserve those for pay-per-views, but even then, those are fairly few and far between. It's like motivate match happens. Oh, we're gonna have another match. Motivate that one. If not, move to other story.
I still maintain the more appropriate analogy would be AEW is like WCW in 1993 because they've got a couple of cool things going on.
They do.
Not really big crowds.
No.
And nothing they do really seems all that meaty, except for a couple things here and there. And they have a ton of talent that they just don't use to the best of its potential, the fullest of its potential.
No, they don't.
And I think if they start doing that, they'll have something really good. Here's the other thing that Andrew Sharp had to say, and a bunch of people had this one last week, and that is Triple H is too obsessed with long-term booking. What do you say about that?
I think that's a situation where, maybe some variety would be in order. Some people really enjoy the long-term storytelling. Like, I feel like for the most part, we enjoy stories that take their time to unfold. Some people don't. And there's probably stories where it's appropriate to take the long game approach. And there's probably stories that are appropriate that after 2 or 3 months, this has run its course. Let's move on to something else.
Yeah.
And if there's one criticism that you can levy over on Triple H from his creative approach, whether it's on main roster and NXT, is once he kind of decides what he wants it to be, that's what it is.
Yeah, right.
As we saw in NXT when he was at the helm there was some variety in character, but maybe not enough. Mm-hmm. Too many characters were kind of too similar. Maybe in the main roster, you have a lot of stories playing out over months and months and months, and maybe not enough stories that, sometimes there's something to be said for a decent story that's 2 months long that maybe lasts 2 matches or a couple pay-per-view cycles. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, right.
If you manage to tell a complete story that's satisfying.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the thing. It's not so much that Triple H is so obsessed. It's like maybe Triple H could offer us more variety.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I wonder if that's just sort of the auteur thing, though. Could be. Like that's just his style of booking things, and it leads to those big dramatic singular moments like what we saw a lot, like, the Sami Zayn Royal Rumble turn on Roman Reigns. You get these big buzzworthy moments that happen, once every couple months.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to get plenty of them at WrestleMania. I'm really looking forward to this WrestleMania. But yeah, I don't know. I think, dude, as long as the week-to-week television is fairly compelling, which you can argue, like, SmackDown, with the whole build for Roman Reigns and Universal Championship hasn't really, that wasn't really the best leading into the Rumble. So yeah, I don't know. Look, there's a lot of moving pieces, and I'm not being a Triple H apologist here, but I'm going to be a Triple H apologist here. And I feel like, like what I always say, booking weekly wrestling
It's tough.
It's tough. It's not easy.
Got to find that rhythm.
Yeah, man.
This kind of correlates to something I said at the beginning of the show, especially regarding Sid. Alan Cartwright says, I don't think giant-sized wrestlers like Omos and Braun can ever be that entertaining. Au contraire. Braun's feud with Roman Reigns was tons of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Braun was very entertaining in that feud. He turned over like a semi-truck, an ambulance. He did all sorts of crazy stunts.
It's kind of like sort of peak pro wrestling, to be honest with you. Now, let me ask you this.
What?
A character like Braun in that mode, do you see any potential? It'll be interesting to see if Triple H can book something like this. Longevity with a character like that. Yeah. That's, I think, because destroying things, while really cool, and to me has a lot of legs.
Oh, yeah.
It does have a limited running time.
Yeah, you run the risk of booking yourself in the corner as like, what can this wrestler do other than turn over heavy objects?
I wonder if it's the kind of thing where they can be booked properly long-term, not sustained long-term. So, it kind of like Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt would just show up. He would do his thing. He would go away. He would show up. He would do his thing. He'd go away.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, like, a monster like Braun, like if they took Braun came back and they brought him back to his monster roots.
Yeah.
If it was like he comes for one big feud, lots of destruction, goes away for a while.
Yeah.
Comes back and it's like, oh my God, this is, he's more of a force of nature than he is.
Seasonal force of nature.
Yeah, exactly. Paleo Patient says the vignettes in the 90s were far more entertaining than the ones done today. Example, Mr. Perfect's football throw and catch. I think that the vignettes in the 90s were just a product of their time because, if you saw that kind of thing now, it would feel kind of out of place.
It would, unless the tone was perfect.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Back in the 90s, and the Mr. Perfect vignettes back in the early mid-90s were captured the tone of the 90s.
Yeah, right, exactly.
In terms of production and whatnot. And it worked for the time, but I think there's a way you could do something comparable where somebody who's got a gimmick where they're really good at everything can do something like that. But if you photograph it, that's consistent and up to date with the times, and the tone is right, I think you could still do it.
I think they could have done something like that with Damian Sandow.
Yeah.
I still say he's one of the biggest missed opportunities.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Truth and Lies says AEW will never capture the energy it had back in 2021, 2022. They may get close, but for the rest of the time, we'll look back at its best years being those 2 years.
Tony Khan seems to agree that 2021 was peak AEW, trying to get back to that here in 2024.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about 2021, 2022 AEW, and that it seemed like, the Young Bucks these days like to talk about the whole change of the world thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the moment where it seemed like AEW, at least the wrestling world, they were going to make a significant impact, and where they were going to be competitors to WWE in terms of viewership, at least in the short term, no, but they could definitely compete with WWE when it comes to talent.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And it seemed like, all out 2021 seemed like at the time it was a pivot point.
It did. I think it was. I think it showed that, like Edge still went to AEW. Big names can go there. Did you hear that?
Dog.
Anyways, getting back to AEW. I don't know. I think like one of the things about it that I think not a lot of people talk about is that was 3 years ago. Yeah. Well, it's coming up on 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And they signed guys who were already old. That was eventually going to cycle out. Jericho was old when AEW started.
Yeah.
And now we're just at the natural point of like, they've been doing this for 5 years now. Like, yeah, he's now over that part of like being really effective for AEW. Mox is probably getting there too. There's nothing compelling right now going on with Mox.
Not terribly, no.
You look at the younger guys, Swerve and Hangman. Now, if they took more of those younger guys, like the Acclaimed, like if they kept Jade and kept her relevant,
Yeah, no.
then you would see a lot more of that, and it would come off as a lot more relevant, and they'd be doing more interesting things. I think that with the right booking, they can get there. It's just it remains to be seen if Tony Khan is going to learn from his mistakes and if he's going to adopt a booking philosophy that will make his current talent that isn't being properly utilized utilized.
Yeah, indeed. Darius the Great here says Mercedes Monet's AEW run will run out of steam before the year is over. I wonder if...
That's so bleak, but it's probably true.
I wonder if she actually signed a long-term deal. Like a multi-year deal, or if it's simply, I don't think it's going to be an appearance thing, but, a short-term thing.
2 years probably sounds right. I'd be shocked if she did like 3 to 5. That'd be kind of crazy.
It would be.
As far as like running out of steam, I mean, dude, the precedent is sort of there. There are plenty of matchups there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what Britt Baker's been doing lately, but like in terms of like off screen, if she's rehabbing, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
think
either.
She's injured. It's like that episode where I gave you COVID.
Oh my God! Something down the wrong pipe.
Johnny Boombatz says this fire burns is better in Cult of Personality.
It's like your opinion, man.
To me, that's kind of, I'll be honest, it's kind of a toss-up. I really like this Fire Burns. I think it's a badass song.
Yeah, the Cult of Personality is next level.
Yeah, I know. It's actually like an iconic song.
It really is. Outside the world of wrestling, you put it inside the world of wrestling. Oh,
yeah, I know.
Next level.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Let's see here.
Eyes are watering now. What the heck?
Lord, you're a mess. Lord Blake Whitehouse, who's WrestleJuice's resident NXT stan, says WWE switching NXT from an indie-loaded roster to young, athletic, homegrown talent was the correct call. Changing up to that fucking ugly-ass venue was not the correct call.
No.
That was definitely not the correct call. That place is dog shit ugly. I hate that place.
Yeah, and then the way they photograph it and stage the Performance Center, it emphasizes how tiny it is.
Yeah, I can't stand that place. I don't know. I will say this. It emphasizes just how good the Performance Center, the developmental Performance Center aspect of things has come along.
Yeah.
Because they have developed some really good names there.
They have. They
Yeah.
absolutely have. They absolutely have. This is AJ2766. Kurt Angle in TNA was better than Kurt Angle in WWE. I've heard that sentiment actually quite a bit.
Sure.
He was in TNA longer than he was in WWE initially.
Let me ask you this.
What?
When he was in WWE, did he do anything cool like fly from like the ramp, the stage?
I thought he did at least
Kurt
one
Angle, onto Abyss?
moonsault off the top of a cage in WWE, I believe.
Oh yeah, I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
So
the answer is
I don't
yes.
know. I kind of feel like it was like, just a natural evolution of Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Nothing to me, and granted, I've seen plenty of clips of Kurt Angle in TNA, but nothing to me will ever beat like his first 4 years or so in WWE.
I know. He was
that
so
was
good.
that was an amazing run.
He was so good.
Jalen Moore has been trying to shove this one down our throats on every hot take. So I'm sure we're going to talk about this, Jalen. I don't think it's that hot. He says Sonya Deville's the most underrated women's wrestler. She's one of the best mic workers, and her time as GM is underappreciated. I think when she recovers injury, she can make an amazing heel champion, and a feud between her and Chelsea Green could be legendary. I agree. I think Sonya Deville's great.
Sonya's great.
I kind of feel like everybody thinks
Yeah,
that.
Sonya's great.
People like Sonya.
Yeah, I think so. Joey here says Andrade will not get over in the WWE and will be in the same position he was in AEW, nothing but a mid-carder. While AEW didn't handle him the best, his inability to get over with fans on 2 occasions is his fault.
Ooh.
I don't know. Like, here's the thing. Presentation matters in the world of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And it matters a lot.
Yeah.
And first impressions matter a lot.
That is true.
And when he debuted in AEW with Vicky Guerrero,
No music.
Just
walking out.
It didn't necessarily say, here's a superstar.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily lay the blame on that on Andrade.
Yeah, me neither.
So, and creative frequently not having anything for him on TV, don't entirely lay that on Andrade's lap either.
Yeah.
So, no, he was NXT champion for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
He's a phenomenal wrestler.
He is phenomenal.
He can do some interesting character stuff.
Yeah.
He just needs to be in the right situation.
Yeah.
I thought his early main roster run after getting called up was solid. His feud with Ray was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah. Those matches. I remember it was like the highlight of Raw.
Yeah.
During like pandemic. It was like these are the only things people want to watch.
Yeah, they were really good. So
he brought the Canadian Destroyer to WWE main roster.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that Triple H is probably champing at the bit to get his hands on Andrade.
I would think so.
Bucket Dipper says, I've really enjoyed Edgy Adam Copeland's run in AEW so far. While his character isn't groundbreaking, I really like him having fun matches against young up-and-comers and his motivations to get Christian in the TNT title. Well, that's cool. Is Bucket Dipper just Tony Khan? Hey, look, if you're already a fan of Edge, there's nothing to be sad about with the way he's in AEW.
Yep.
So if you're into Edge post his return to WWE, then you're going to continue to like what he's doing.
Exactly.
I liked him when he was getting stacked by the Tribal Chief.
Yeah, that was fun. Braden Loader says Miro needs to leave AEW ASAP. He'll seemingly never get a solid push for more than a month straight, so a change of scenery is absolutely necessary, whether it's WWE or elsewhere.
Bring back Rusev Day, man. Bring back
Rusev the Redeemer.
Yeah, I dig that. I would dig that.
I think what he's coming upon this Redeemer character is really, really good.
Yeah, I know.
And there's a lot of interesting stuff you could do with that character. It's just not being done in AEW right now. We want Miro on our TVs.
Yep. DJ Luke D says moving Jay from SmackDown to Raw was a bad move. I like this one because it made me think. He says the beginning was interesting with Drew and others not trusting him, but since War Games, he's just spinning his wheels. I wonder, Triple H has a thing where he cycles through big moments for wrestlers.
Yeah.
Like Jay did have a really good early run to Raw, and I feel like right now he's spinning his wheels until he beats Gunther for the IC title at WrestleMania.
It could be. Long-term storytelling. Optimus Crime says, one more hot take. I know 2024 is the year we all turn on Jericho, but actually like the Painmaker gimmick. It's not for me.
Yeah, not for me either. Let's see here. I thought there was another one that I wanted to...
This one kind of references the last episode, now undefined. Says, no wrestling company is as bad as WCW was in the year 2000. Anyone who thinks they are didn't watch WCW in 2000.
Yep. That's the one I was trying to find. Yeah, I agree with that. You cannot compare the two.
No.
WCW 2000 was the worst booked wrestling TV show I've probably ever seen.
It was unwatchable dog shit.
It was unwatchable dog shit. The number of title changes for that poor big gold belt were unbelievable. And yet David Arquette and Vince Russo both winning that title. That is never going to be not the truth. That is definitive in stone. That's going to do it for hot takes.
Factual
Factual
it's
takes.
Not subjective.
No, it's mathematical.